Good evening, Snooker World. This is the 39th episode of the 15 Red podcast. And tonight, I am joined by the one and only Scott in Northern Ireland. Good evening, Scott.
Very good. Good morning to you, Mike, over there in Vancouver. How are you?
Fantastic, thank you. So today we're going to talk about, a little bit later on in the episode, we're going to talk about some old historic finals. So,
yes.
Stay tuned for that. But
The
first,
first in our series of several that we've got lined up over the next few days.
Correct. Exactly. We're going to cover every final from 77 to last season's.
Indeed.
So, but to start the day, we've got some news and notes, and I know you've been covering the Championship League.
I have indeed. Well, you've got the standings there of the group. We'll come to those in a moment. But the Championship League, we're now in the third and final stage of it. And there's one more preliminary group to be played, Group 7, as Michael update us on that in a moment. But one moment that has taken place in Group 7 today was Yan Bingtao became the 73rd player to reach 100 career century breaks. So congratulations to the Masters champion.
Absolutely, yeah. He's a good player. He's only 21, I believe, so he's going to have a lot more coming his way, I would say.
Indeed, yes.
But as for actual results here that have been played,
yes.
I'm just going to read them out so everyone knows.
Yep.
Joe Perry, 3, Neil Robertson 1. Yan Bingtao 3, Kurt Mafflin 1.
Yes.
Gilbert 3, Anthony McGill 1. Mark Williams 3, Kurt Mafflin 1. Neil Robertson 2, Yan Bingtao 3. So Neil was 0-2 after his win on Sunday. And
down to earth with a bit of a bump there.
And Anthony McGill 3-2 over Mark Williams. Those are the only games played so far.
And they resume at 6 o'clock British time.
Yes, correct. Yeah, and then standings, Yan's at the top because he's won 2 matches. Yeah.
And I should explain the format. The top 2 from this, or the top 1 from this group rather, goes into the winners group, which will be played on the 1st and 2nd of April.
Yep.
And in that winners group so far are
winners group looks like this. We've got Zhou Yulong, Graham Dott, John Higgins, Judd Trump, Kyron Wilson, Ali Carter, and then the winner of today's group will be the last person in.
Yeah. So that group will be decided tomorrow, and then we'll have the full winners group then played on April 1st and 2nd.
Yep, that's correct. So it's not too bad.
No, the last competitive action before the World Qualifiers, of course.
Yep.
I know a lot of people sort of deride the Championship League and say, well, what's the point? But it's actually good, particularly for some of these lower ranked players who are going into World Qualifiers, to get a bit of match practice under their belt before.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's a good point. Like, it doesn't mean a whole lot for some of the big guys, other than for match practice. But for the lower ranked guys, I can see why this kind of format is good.
Yeah.
So, also just to point out, Judgment Day is going to be broadcast live on Facebook Live and YouTube. So, another way of watching the final day of qualifying.
Yeah, my favourite day of the snooker season.
Is it? Oh,
yeah, because Foldsy and Rob Walker on Judgment Day are absolutely superb. I know Eurosport covered it on the TV last year, but I didn't actually like it being on the TV. I preferred, when they have it on Facebook and they roam between the tables. You see, what happens is they move between each table. So if there's a significant event happening, you can watch it because they move between the tables.
Oh, all right. Yes.
And Folds, he normally has the almanac with him, so there's a few good questions that.
Yeah, fair enough. So I'll probably pay attention to that this year. I haven't seen it before on Facebook, so but I'll definitely take a look at that.
Yes.
Also, Stephen Hendry and Jimmy White's match was originally scheduled for Tuesday, April the 6th. It's now April the 5th.
Yes, the first day of qualifying.
And it will be played at 7:30 UK time.
Yep.
It will be on the Eurosport app and eurosport.co.uk.
Indeed. I know there's a lot of criticism that it should be on mainstream TV and, everybody should be able to watch it. And there's a good argument for that. I understand that. But you've got to understand from Eurosport's point of view as well. The reason they were able to televise the qualifiers in full last year was there was no sport on at the time because the Olympics had been cancelled.
True. That's true. In a way, you kind of wish they could televise that one particular match, but that's I understand their reasoning also that they've got to cover other things as well, and last year was the exception, not the rule.
Indeed, yeah.
Anyway, that's that's all the news and notes for the day. So
yes.
So shall we move to our finals coverage?
Did you want to go over the Tour Championship just briefly and ask what was my sort of?
Yeah, okay, we can do that now. I was going to do that at the end, but yeah, what was your take on last week's tournament?
Neil Robertson is in superb form.
Yep, I think you're right. I think he's coming in because he hasn't played. He's withdrew from a couple of events, and he's a little bit hidden from some of the other guys like Judd and John and Ronnie. But man, he played well.
Yeah,
he's going to be a tough out.
Yeah, I don't know whether you saw my episode last night, Mike, but I mentioned that actually this marks a bit of a trend in recent tournaments that the finals have been won easily. We were so used to close finals, for the majority of the season. But from the final, the Players' Championship, John won that 10-3. Then the Gibraltar Open, Judd won 4-0 against Jack. And now Neil has won 10-4 against O'Sullivan. So,
saying all of this, who do you think coming into the World Championships is actually the favourite? It's so hard to pick. Everybody's playing so well and getting good results. Well,
Phil Yates, that fount of all snooker knowledge, of course, made the point on the 150th episode of Dave Hendon's podcast. He was on today, I heard him, and he said that it will be a big name that wins it. You never know what the qualifiers are going to do, but, a big name probably will win it, right?
I think so. Yep.
But among those sort of top 4 or 5, and even the top sort of 10,
yep.
You can't really pick a winner.
No.
I mean, as Kelly Barker put in under, she commented under my episode last night, and she said that second quarter of the draw is absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Because if they get through their first round matches against qualifiers, you will have Higgins playing Williams and Selby playing Mark Allen.
Wow, that's
in the second round.
Yeah, that's pretty tough lineup, isn't it?
That's brutal stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, we seem to be saying this every year. It's the most open it's been for years. But see, among that sort of top 10, I really can't pick a winner. Now, I know I've gone for John but anybody could win it. But I still think John will do it,
Yeah, I mean, you can make a compelling case for every single one of them, from 1 through 5. And Neil Robertson basically gave us an example of what he can do on any given week when he's in top form. He can beat anyone. He can destroy any of the top guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to pick, but based on what I saw, I got to say, Neil Robertson is going to be the man for me.
But then again, Neil has been the top of everybody's list for the last 3 or 4 years.
No, true. That's very true.
Well, anyway, let's leave that discussion for the moment and let's get into the snooker TARDIS of time, I suppose, and transfer ourselves back 44 years.
44 years, you say, and you are talking about Spencer and Thorburn, is what I'm assuming you are referring to.
1977, Silver Jubilee year, of course. Her Majesty was 25 years on the throne.
Yep, that's true as well. So let's talk about that final, and I believe it was Spencer Thorburn.
Indeed.
And John ended up winning 25-21.
Indeed, that's correct.
So, and for his win, he gained a prize package of £6,000.
Correct.
And Cliff got 2,000 as a runner-up.
Yes, I'll give you the session scores in that final.
Okay.
Because it was best of 49 frames.
Okay. Wow.
Best of 49 frames. And after the first session, John led 4-2.
Okay.
After the second session, after the second session, they were level at 6-all.
Okay.
Then level at 9-all.
Okay.
Then Thorburn led 13-11.
Okay.
Then they were level at 15-all.
Yep.
Then they were level at 18-all.
Okay.
Then Spencer led 22-20.
Yep.
And John then won 25-21.
And that was his third world title as well, if I'm not
Yes, after 1969 and 1971.
yeah.
Well, I think he beat Reardon and Alex in those two finals.
Okay.
I'll just take you through the players' routes of who they beat to get there. I'll not go through the matches individually, but I'll go through the names.
Okay.
In Spencer's case, he beat John Virgo 13-9.
Yep.
Then in the quarterfinals, he beat Reardon 13-6. In the semis, he beat John Pullman 18-16.
Okay.
In Cliff's case, find his name here. Where? Cliff. Where's his bird?
It was also the first tournament that John Spencer won with the two-piece cue.
Indeed, yes. Oh. Oh. There we go. Thorburn beat Rex Williams.
Okay.
13-6.
Okay.
Then in the quarters, he beat Eddie Charlton 13-12.
Okay.
Good grief, that would have taken a while. In the semis, he beat Dennis Taylor 18-16, and then lost in the final to John Spencer.
Okay. And any other facts that you want to present from that final?
Well, in 1977, just to talk about that championship as a whole for a moment, there were 16 men in it.
Yes.
There were only 16 in it. And I believe there were only 16 the following year as well.
Yep, that's correct.
So So it wasn't the World Championship as we know it, and as well, the BBC only covered the semis and the final.
Yeah, that's
So-
true. So from 77, we go to 78, in which we see Ray Reardon and Perry Mans in the final.
Indeed. Perry Mans only made a 68 break in that entire tournament. His highest break was 68.
Wow, how did he get to the final with that? Just a 68 break.
I know.
And
I
pretty
know
hell-
it was.
Well, in today's game.
I know.
So
A different world, Mike. A different world.
yes, no kidding. Do you want to talk about how Ray got to the final and Perry got to the final first?
Yeah, well, I'll start off with Perry Mans actually, because he beat he beat John Spencer, the defending champion. Hence,
The Crucible.
the famed curse struck the first time. Now, a lot of people debate that because, of course, it was John's third world title, but it was his first at a Crucible.
Correct. So it does count as a Crucible curse.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway,
Well, at least I argue it does.
Yeah.
And then in the quarterfinals, remember 16 men in it.
Yep.
Perry Mans then beat Graham Miles, who was the runner-up in 1974.
Okay.
Perry Mans beat him 13-11,
Yep.
13-7, I beg your pardon. And then in the semi-finals, Perry beat Fred Davis, of course, in that infamous match,
Yes.
18-16. 18-16. And then Ray Reardon, if I can find there, where is it? And then Ray Reardon beat Doug Mountjoy,
Yep.
Bill Werbenick,
Yep.
Eddie Charlton, heavens above, and then Perry Mans in the final.
And he beats Perry Mans 25-18.
Indeed. To give you the session scores there, Reardon led 5-2 after the first.
Yep.
They were level at 8-all after the second.
Okay.
Reardon led 12-11 after the third. 18-14 to Reardon after the fourth. 22-18 after the fifth, and then finished up 25-18 then.
And with all that, Ray Reardon became the oldest world champion at age 45 and 23 days. Passing
203 days, wasn't it?
203 days, that's what I said, yeah.
Yeah.
45, 203 days. And he passed Joe Davis for that title.
Yeah. Of course, Fred Davis in the semi-final at 64 years of age.
I know, crazy. Wow.
In so many ways, a different world.
It was also the first time the BBC covered the whole tournament.
Yes.
That was the first look for the entire event. Still only 16 men, as you said, though. So, any other facts you want to point out about that final, Scott?
Who was the referee? Was John Williams?
John Williams was the referee. Yep.
Who was the ref in 77? I forgot that.
Oh, John Smythe was the referee.
John Smythe.
So, from 78, with Reardon defending, we go to 79, and we see Terry Griffiths and Dennis Taylor in the final.
Indeed. Let me see. I'll start with Dennis.
Yes.
He beat, believe it or not, on debut, this fellow was making, was Steve Davis, and Dennis beat him.
Oh, wow. On his debut. Okay.
Oh, what Dennis would have given to beat them 7 years later, but nonetheless, 6 years later, I beg your pardon. Yeah, 6 years later. Then in the quarters, Taylor beat, good grief, he beat Ray Reardon.
Wow. That's a big
Then
one.
he beat John Virgo in the semis.
Yep.
And then lost to Terry in the final.
So,
We should have mentioned that in 1978 and 79, the two losing semi-finalists played a third place playoff.
oh, I didn't know that. Good point.
And the two losing semi-finalists in 78 were, of course, Fred Davis and Eddie Charlton. And Eddie Charlton beat Fred 7-3 for the equivalent of a bronze medal, I suppose.
Oh, okay. Very good.
But we'll get to that for 79 in a moment. And then Griffiths, that extraordinary run. Now, bear in mind that this was only the second professional event that Griffiths had entered.
Yeah, he was a qualifier. He was
Yeah.
the first qualifier to win it, I think.
He was.
Yeah.
Well, we'll ask that as a trivia question. Who was the other one?
Sean Murphy, I think. 2005.
Indeed, yes. We'll get to that final in due course, of course.
Yes.
But Terry Griffiths' extraordinary run, he began, believe it or not, with, if I can find it here, with, believe it or not, Perry Mans.
Okay, so he beat Perry Mans.
Beat Perry Mans. Then he beat Alex in a classic 13-12.
Okay.
Then 1917 against Eddie Charlton in the semi-final, where he delivered that famous line.
What time was that?
I'm in the final now, you know. Apologies for any Welshmen watching.
That's a good one. I like that.
And then, of course, beat Dennis 24-16 in the final. But in the session scores there,
Yep.
Griffiths led 5-2.
Yep.
8-7.
Yep.
11-all.
Yep.
15-all.
Okay.
Griffiths then led 22-16
Okay.
and won the last two frames to go 24-16.
An impressive run, to say the least, from a qualifier. He took out some big names there.
Yeah.
John Williams was the referee, in case you were wondering.
Indeed. One of 10 world finals that he did.
Yes, that's true as well. So from 79, we go to 1980.
Yes.
Where, the friend of
Hold on. Just before we leave 79, I should say the third place playoff, the sort of bronze medal match between the two losing semi-finalists, was won 7-3 by Eddie Charlton against John Virgo.
Excellent. Good stuff. So in 1980, a good friend of the show made some history.
Indeed.
Cliff Thorburn battled Alex Higgins in the first best of 35 final.
Indeed, yes.
And Cliff ended up winning 18-16.
Yep.
Became the first champion from outside of the UK. So,
yeah. Well, since the disputed championship of 1952, but
yes, true. But who did Cliff beat to get to the final?
Well, before I do that, I should explain there's a slight change to the format in 1980. There's now 24 men in it.
Oh, okay. So
because you've got 8 qualifiers.
Yep.
And the 16 seeds. And seeds 9 to 16, only they played the 8 qualifiers. The top 8 seeds didn't play until the second round.
Oh, okay. Simmons is qualified.
So, by the way, Steve Davis inflicted the curse on Griffiths.
Okay.
One of 7 times Davis would beat Griffiths at Sheffield, incidentally.
Okay.
But in terms of Cliff's progress, he started in the second round. He beat Doug Mountjoy 13. What was the score there? 13-10.
Okay.
Then he beat Jim White, the fellow Canadian, 13-6.
Okay.
Then he beat David Taylor 16-7 in the semis, and then Alex 18-16 in the final.
Okay.
I should say that not only was that the first best of 35 final, but it was the first to incorporate, best of 19 first round, best of 25 second round, best of 25 quarterfinal, best of 31 semis, and best of 35 finals. So it's the first with the conventional match lengths, if you like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was the changing of the new format that they use now. Okay. And apparently, well, at 16-16 in frame 33, Cliff makes a 119.
He did indeed. You're quite right.
And then he makes a 51 in the clinching frame.
Indeed.
18-16, and because it was televised on the BBC, apparently 14.5 million people watched that final.
And of course, there was an interruption to the BBC coverage that night.
Yep, that's true. There was, wasn't there?
Yes, because I think the SAS, which was the British undercover section of the army, they raided the Iranian embassy.
Oh, okay. Yep. And that caused a bit of a stoppage.
Yes.
Okay. And also, the referee was none other than John Street.
Indeed.
All right. So from there, we go to 1981. We've got 2 more finals to cover. And it's Steve Davis and Doug Mountjoy.
Indeed. Format exactly the same as 1980. 24 men, 9-16 play, 8 qualifiers, and then 1-8 come in the second round.
Oh, okay, same format as the previous year. Okay.
So Steve's route, if I can find him, Steve came in the second round.
Okay.
And he beat Alex Higgins 13-8.
Okay.
One of 25 times that he beat him.
Yep.
Beat Alex Higgins 13-8. In the quarters, he beat Terry Griffiths by the same scoreline, 13-8.
Okay.
In the semis, he inflicted the curse on Thorburn.
Okay.
16-10. And then obviously 18-12 against Doug in the final, having won the first 6 frames. So having won the first 6 frames, he maintained the 6-frame lead the whole way through.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that was the first of 6 crowns for Steve.
Indeed.
So yeah. Do you have who the referee was for that one there, Scott?
I believe the referee was John Williams.
John Williams. Okay, because I couldn't find that one.
Yeah. Doug's route through to the final. We'll give the late Doug a plug, if you like.
Yeah.
to use a bit of rhyming clang there. Let me see. Where are we? Eddie Chart, because he came in the second round.
Yep.
No, sorry, he didn't. He played Willie Thorne in round 1, beat him 10-6.
Okay.
Then in round 2, he beat Eddie Charlton 13-11.
Yep.
In the quarters, he beat Dennis Taylor 13-8.
Yep.
And in the semis, in that match where he made the 145, which was then the record for a World Championship, he defeated Ray Reardon 16-10
Oh, okay. So
before losing
Doug.
in the final. So.
All right. So, and then from there we go to arguably the most iconic final of the ones we talked about. That's the 1982 final between Reardon and Alex Higgins, which Alex wins.
And the 1982 championship was the first to incorporate a fully, the format as we know it today, fully, if you know what I mean. 32 men, 16 seats, 16 qualifiers, no third place playoff, no holding players over, just bring everybody in the last 32 stage, bang.
Yes, the format that stands today.
Yes.
All right.
So
how did Ray get there?
Well, how did Ray get to the fight? Well, first of all, 1982's opening story, the defending champion Steve Davis.
Yep.
Gets hammered.
Gets hammered. Yep. That makes sense. The Crucible Curse right there.
And one. You were asking about Reardon's route.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find him. Where is it? I'll start with we'll start with Alex first.
Okay.
We'll start with Jim. He beat Jim Meadowcroft.
Okay.
10-5. Then he beat Doug Mountjoy 13-12.
Okay, very close one.
Then in the quarters, 13-10 against Willie Thorne, despite Willie making the highest break in the championship that year on 143.
Okay.
And then obviously Alex's semi-final against Jimmy.
Yes.
16-15, the 69 break from heaven.
Yeah, that was a great display. I remember that semi-final vividly.
I remember I've seen footage of that, and Jimmy was drinking milk at one stage.
Oh boy. That's
possibly sweetened with a bit of vodka, but
yeah. Yeah, he might have been into that back then.
Yeah. I'm trying to find Reardon's first round match. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Jim Donnelly, he was a Scottish player. Reardon beat him 10-5. Then Reardon beat John Virgo at 13-8. Then in the quarters, Reardon beat Silvino Francisco, and then Eddie Charlton in the semi-final.
Also, a point to note that Ray had never lost in a final.
Up until that point, yes.
82, yes. That's and it was also a rematch of 1976, if I'm not mistaken, Scott.
It was, yes. Ray had won 27-16.
Yes, correct. So first session, Ray's up 5-3.
Yep, correct.
Second session, Alex is up 10-7.
Correct.
Third session, 13-12, Alex.
Indeed.
And he wins 18-15.
With?
And he clinches the match with a 1-3-5 in the clinching frame.
Indeed.
So, and that's the scene where he has his daughter and his wife on the floor, and very emotional, iconic photo.
Yeah.
And so that was a great final. I remember that. That was pretty good.
It was. And of course, I rather crudely joked with you off air that poor Lauren, his daughter, probably could only smell vodka and orange juice.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, I must admit.
Probably true, though.
And the referee was John Smythe. Just
Indeed, yes.
So, have you watched any of these finals or footage of these finals?
Oh, yes, I've watched footage of all of them, yes.
Yeah, no, the game's changed quite a bit since then, obviously, but
yes,
still,
but I wonder when John Spencer won it in 1977. I wonder, because bear in mind that the championship the previous year had been held in two different venues, in Manchester and Middlesbrough. Alex had won in 72 in front of about 50 people in Birmingham. It had been to Australia twice. I wonder in 1977, did they think that it would stay at the one venue for as long as it has?
well, I mean, if you look at history, you'd have to think they wouldn't have expected it to, but they've done a wonderful job of keeping it going for coming out 5 years.
Yeah, and of course we have to give a shout out there to the late Mike Watterson.
Yes.
Whose wife Carol went to see a play at the Crucible, because the Crucible had only been open since 1971. And Mike Watterson was the promoter in charge, and he said, I need a permanent venue for this thing. And she went to see a play and said, look, come to the Crucible, and he was actually worried there wouldn't be enough room. But he walked across the whole length of the stage, and it was exactly 36 feet.
Oh, okay. So that was just enough to get the two tables in and get some people in to watch and stuff, I guess. Is that how it went?
Yeah, that was the rationale.
Okay.
And it really has become the home snooker. And I mean, Kelly Barker, who's been interacting with us quite a bit, and who's, Chris Downer, the fellow that does the almanac. These guys have been going there, and like I've been there once. You've never been there, unfortunately, Mike, just with, being a canon and so on. But it really is an iconic venue. Like every sport has their iconic venue. Football has Wembley. Cricket has Lords.
Yeah.
Golf has St Andrews or Augusta.
Yeah.
And snooker has the Crucible. It's just, it is I know the cliche is a bit overused, it is the home snooker, but it really is.
Yeah, no,
I know we've discussed whether it'll move, and none of us want it to move, and it just it gets me really excited at this time of year, because that you're just going to be sat there. A lot of things have changed in the world in the last 12 months and even longer before that. Yep. But the one constant in the last 44 years from a sporting point of view is the fact that the World Championship is at the Crucible in April time, a fortnight every spring when life is just good and normal.
That's true. I mean, I could take this a slightly different direction, but I could make the claim that what's happened this year through these difficult circumstances is one of the greatest snooker accomplishments. The fact that they've been able to play their season, keep things safe in a tight bubble, they've been able to do it. They've been able to entertain us when we've been in lockdown. Like, this is one of the greatest snooker accomplishments.
Yeah, and all credit. I know we're going to discuss sort of near the time the points that Barry Hearn was making on the Talking Snooker podcast. We'll get to those later, but all credit to Barry Hearn and Jason Ferguson and the men that have been involved there, because they've really done a marvelous job.
Yep, absolutely. So, all right, so that covers a lot of that. Any any other things you want to cover before we put a lid on it?
No, I think that, well, the Championship League matches will have started. So have you got any updates on the 6 o'clock matches?
I just saw one match. It was Joe Perry had a 1-0 lead. That was the only one I saw. Oh, here we go. I got it. Yeah, 1-0 Joe Perry against David Gilbert. 1-0 Neil Robertson versus Kurt Maslin. That's it.
That's it for the time being.
Yeah, progress. So.
Yes, well, we'll post the results as soon as they come in. We'll post them on the page and you can see them there.
And tomorrow we will go over finals 83 to 89, if I'm not mistaken. Is that...
Well, how many have we done tonight? There, we done 77.
We went 77 to 82. So I think it's 83 to 89.
77, 78, 79, 80, 81, and 82. That's that 5?
Something like that. Yeah. We got 1, 2, 3. We did 6.
So 6, 83, 84, 85, 3, 86, and 87. So 83 to 87 then.
Okay, so that's what we're covering tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it should be good. So that was another good episode, Scott.
Indeed.
Covered some historic stuff. And you got to use your almanac and facts from that. Any parting shots? We're good.
I suppose just one question that we can that I'll give the answer to at the start of our episode tomorrow.
Okay, what is it?
And the question is, what was the highest break in the 1977 championship?
Okay, and you're going to deliver the answer tomorrow.
Yes.
Perfect. All right then, that sounds good. Have a good night, Scott, and we're gonna see everyone again tomorrow around the same time.
Indeed, yes.
All right, good night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.
Will do.
Good night.